What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. So, as a coaster enthusiast and a member of the coaster community, I like to talk about a mix of roller coasters all across the world, from my home parks to parks across the planet. I live in the eastern United States, and I have never traveled outside of the United States for amusement park or roller coaster purposes. While it would be really cool to go to an international amusement park someday, right now I'm currently focusing on parks in the country. And even though a lot of us coaster enthusiasts don't plan on going overseas yet, we do talk a lot about roller coasters overseas. Some of the most talked about overseas coasters from Americans would definitely be Expedition G-Force, the Schwartz-Carnan, Wildfire, Nemesis, Egenica, Dynaconda, Coaster Through the Clouds, Hakugi, Steel Dragon 2000, and of course DC Rivals. As a coaster enthusiast from the United States, I still have heard a lot about these rides, even though I am nowhere near any of these rides. And that's truly the power of these popular roller coasters. But going through the roller coaster database, you can sometimes find some hidden gems that not a lot of people have talked about. The video I'm making here is dedicated to those little known roller coasters that have just as much charm as some of the more well-known ones. I don't get why these coasters aren't talked about as much. I found many of these rides, but I have only gathered 4 because I feel like these 4 are the most worthy, and I could possibly do a part 2 in the future. So without further ado, this is Cedar Flags, and here are 4 little known elite roller coasters from around the world. Before I get into the video, I just want to set up a few rules. The first rule is I will not be including any coasters from China, because if I did, that would be worthy of another video within itself. There are a lot of underrated coasters from China, and honestly, I really want to talk about them someday. But right now, I'm just going to focus on the non-Chinese ones. None of these roller coasters will be in the United States either, since as an American, I do hear a little bit about all amusement parks and theme parks from the United States. Now, let's get to the list, and our first entry, we have Shred the Sewers at the indoor Dream Island Park in Moscow, Russia. Now, this is a pretty interesting park, and this is a pretty interesting coaster. This is an indoor Intamin Blitz that features 1 launch, 4 inversions, and several airtime moments in a pitch black setting. This is themed to the sewers of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, and it looks like a pretty promising layout. Now, this ride doesn't even hit 50 miles an hour or 80 feet in height, so it's definitely not the greatest or biggest Intamin Blitz, but it definitely holds a place in its own. It's very low to the ground centric, and has a lot of pretty forceful low to the ground high speed elements. It's a pretty nice coaster, and probably looks like one of the best, if not the best ride, in Russia. This has also easily got to be one of the most themed Intamin Blitz coasters, as well as it is completely indoors in that pitch black setting I was talking about earlier. But moving on, we have Pit Special at Power Park. Now, Power Park is very well known for Junker. Junker is their Gerstlauer Infinity coaster that launches you up into a top hat and has multiple inversions. Upon the European coaster community, this is a very popular ride. But last year, a news story came all the way to America talking about them adding a new lift hill in the park. They were rumoring it to be a part of Junker, but then they realized it was not a part of Junker. But after that, as an American coaster enthusiast, I didn't hear anything since, until one day I was on RCDB and saw that this was a completely separate roller coaster known as Pit Special. Pit Special is what you can call Junker's sister coaster. It has a very similar color scheme and a very different layout. While Junker, the other Gerstlauer at the park, focuses mainly on inversions, this ride, Pit Special, focuses mainly on airtime. Now, it doesn't look like the most forceful ejector airtime, but it looks like some pretty stomach-dropping floater airtime. And these aren't just similar hills like the B&M Hypers, we have a few off-axis hills, and we even have a wave turn. This ride does look very exciting, and definitely looks like one of the best rides in the park. This ride truly is a hidden gem, as if you were to ask most American enthusiasts about this park, they would mention Junker, but probably have no idea what you're talking about when you say Pit Special. The third coaster I want to talk about on this list is Huracan appalantus in Germany. Now, this is a massive Gerstlauer Eurofighter, and possibly looks like one of the best, if not the best Eurofighter in the world. It reminds me a lot of Fahrenheit at Hershey Park, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But this park in Germany, Appalantus, isn't really talked about that much, as this really is the only major attraction at the park. But even with an insane collection of coasters like Germany has, this ride is definitely shelved under. When you look at videos of this ride, you could tell that it is a very fast-paced layout, which definitely sells it for me. It definitely looks like one of the best Eurofighters out there. It has some very fast-paced elements, including a 0G roll, a Cobra roll, 2 interlocking corkscrews, and multiple airtime moments in between. I mean, when it comes to a Eurofighter, what more could you really ask for? Though definitely not the best ride in this country, definitely check out a few videos of it if you haven't already. And finally, we go to South Korea to talk about one of the most underrated coasters on the planet. This is faethon. This is a B&M inverted roller coaster located at Jeonju World in South Korea, like I said, and let me just say, I do find it weird why no coaster enthusiast talks about this, at least from what I hear. You can't say it's because of the location, because Everland and Lot World in South Korea are talked about all the time, with their attractions including Atlantis and T-Express. And you can't talk about the model either. This looks like an amazing B&M inverted coaster, and B&M inverted coasters from that area of the world, including Pyrenees and Diablo, are talked about all the time. This ride has a very similar layout to Raptor. In fact, the first half is completely the same. But after the Cobra roll, it goes into a helix without a mid-course brake run. After that, there are 2 corkscrews that take a slightly different path, and the ride finishes off after a helix. I could definitely see that there is a lot of Raptor inspiration, but it does have its own little quirks, including a wave turn that's very centric to Silver Bullet, and a few helices that look pretty forceful. And let me just say, this ride looks insane, and probably one of the best B&M inverts on this planet. Now, it really beats me why this ride isn't talked about as much. I mean, look at the positive G's that this ride must pull. It must be insane. But anyway, that is my video. These are 4 very underrated roller coasters from across the world, and honestly very little known. If you're not a truly experienced enthusiast that lives 24/7 roller coasters, you probably have no idea what these coasters are. I didn't know what they were until I stumbled upon them on RCDB one day, and I was pretty surprised. That's how I got the inspiration for this video, and it really surprised me how many amazing rides are out there that I haven't even mentioned in this video. So if you want me to do a part 2, let me know in the comments, and if you want me to do a video simply on Chinese rides, let me know down in the comments as well. But for now, this is Cedar Flags, and I will see you all later.